It's beginning to look very like that. I have to say that overnight and into the early part of today, it has been absolute chaos here. The paratroopers were holding their ground, but thousands upon thousands of people had come to the gate. Not sure why such a large number are allowed to pass by the Taliban. Maybe they had stopped manning their checkpoint. It's difficult to know, but there were huge numbers, and they'd got over the barricades that had been built. It's calmed down a little now. They've been able to regain control. I mean, they're not going to get overrun per se, but they're trying to actually make a process work. And with the number of people that are there, it just simply can't work because people can't get, who have the right to come in, can't get to the front of the queue. We know they've had to fire shots in the air and flashbangs, which are not dangerous but very scary. And the reason they do that is so that they can have a second to move forward and actually push the crowds back a little way. But as one soldier was saying to me, you know, it works a couple of times, but after a while everyone knows they're not going to shoot them, so they end up, it's a bit, it's upsetting, but it doesn't push them back. So it has been fairly chaotic. This camp is now really full of people. There's an awful lot. Just to say, I'm not showing those pictures. We've been asked not to because amongst all the people here are intelligence assets, people who've been very linked to the British government and to the British military, and you don't know who you're filming. There's loads of families here as well. So we're not showing those pictures, but I can just assure you, everywhere you go, there are large families. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of children as well. And they're the ones who are being processed. They'll go through the process and they'll get on the planes. But, you know, if the chaos gets so bad, they can't actually get the convoys from here through to the airport because there's too many people on the road, and so they get suspended and they have to wait until they can get control. So it's been very, very difficult for the soldiers. It's funny, actually, though, you see them now. I mean, they're only young lads, but they're playing with the kids. They're being very, very helpful. I mean, this is the parachute regiment who have something of a reputation. It's been quite amazing to watch. Outside, further down the street, reports of bodies either shot or crushed. Other gates, particularly the United States gate, which is known as the North Gate, is absolutely chock-a-block with people. And thousands of foreign nationals trying to get into the rallying points by which they could get into the flight just simply can't get through. And that's because the Taliban aren't stopping people necessarily, but they're allowing lots of people who have no chance of getting on these planes. And so it's just basically utter chaos, in stark contrast to the centre of town. Though I have to say we are hearing reports that it's one of these ceremonies with people gathering and unfurling the Afghan flag rather than the Taliban white flag, and we understand that that has been broken up with the Taliban firing into the air, which this is the second city now to have done that, which is interesting. Is they, are people going to say, after all this time, we don't want you, you can only rule us for so long with the gun? But that's a long way down the road. At the moment, the focus of the international community is trying to get all these people out, but it's really, really difficult.
We heard from, I don't know if you saw, Stuart, yesterday, we heard from the head of the army on this programme saying that the Taliban are a group of country boys and they are to be given the opportunity to prove themselves. You've come face to face with him over the last few days. He says there's no evidence that they are behaving inappropriately towards women or indeed towards others in Kabul. What's your personal experience?
Well, I've also met the Taliban a number of times over many years. I think it's fair to say that in the centre of town, when you get to the sort of the government areas, particularly when I say the government, the Taliban government areas, things are calm. They're out on the streets and they don't appear to be hassling people in a great way. It's not the same here. I mean, I've been looking at the Taliban out down the street. They just haven't changed their spots whatsoever, particularly the group that's right next to us here, the Haqqani group. They're absolute killers and they're really nasty, and there's nothing to suggest to me that they've changed at all. The senior level may have, but I don't believe that the country boys, who were a pretty nasty bunch at the best of times, have suddenly decided that they're all going to be enlightened. I just simply don't believe it. I'm not quite sure why anyone thinks that would be the case, because we do know where they have taken control of cities that women and girls have been stopped from going to university and to school. We know they've been told to go home. We know that people aren't being allowed to teach. So while it might not be as repressive as it was 20 years ago, they've only just started. I mean, it's only a few days. As remarkable as it seems, it was only Sunday, and here we are. So to say that we've been able to gauge what the Taliban is actually like nowadays, I think is, well, frankly, absurd.